Quadratic functions. So it's a function that can be written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not equal to 0. This is the standard form of a quadratic function. And like I said, it looks like a u or a v or something like that. It's called a parabola. The simplest form of a parabola is what f of x equals x squared or y equals x squared. And we call that the quadratic parent function because every other function builds from this one. So the graph is called a parabola. Now, a parabola has what's called a line of symmetry, or an axis of symmetry, because you can fold a parabola around the center vertically, and the two halves will meet. Okay, so it's absolutely symmetrical. So that's going to help us when it comes time to graph. The highest or lowest point of a parabola is its vertex, which is on the axis of symmetry. And a vertex can either be a minimum or a maximum. This one, for instance, is a minimum. What would a maximum kind of look like? It'd be like the arch, right? Okay. Now we're going to learn how to graph these today, given an equation. We're going to first have to find the axis of symmetry, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a moment. But basically, if you have a graph, the number before the x squared is your a, the number before the x is your b, and then the number alone is the c. We use the equation x equals negative b over 2a, and that gives us your axis of symmetry. Okay, and that's what we're first going to start with. Now, these problems, these examples have a few steps involved. So you're going to have to pay very close attention because if you miss one step, even one step, you're going to get confused and you're going to get lost. So I ask that you pay complete attention, make sure you understand all the steps. There is a process that you have to take for these. Okay, and I'm going to show you what that process is. So first, we want to graph the function y equals negative 3x squared plus 6x plus 5. Step one is to find two things. Step one is finding two things. Find the equation of the axis of symmetry. That's what we're going to do first. Then the coordinates of the vertex. The vertex is always on your axis of symmetry. So once we find the x, then we can find the y. So let me just show you how to do this. We use the formula x equals negative b over 2a. And to get a and b, you pull that from the function. You pull that out of the function. Negative 3x squared plus 6x plus 5. You pull it out of the equation. So we get a is negative 3, b is 6. We plug them in here. Okay, so b is 6. So we do negative 6 over 2 times a, which is negative 3. Does everybody see where I got the negative 6 and the negative 3 from? Or not negative 6. It's a positive 6. Yes?
Why would you use negative 3x and 6?
Because it's a and b. Because your equation is negative b over 2a.
So
That's the equation. So it's negative b. So b is 6, so we want a negative 6. And then a is negative 3, so we put a negative 3 here. Okay.
So is the a and the b always going to be the first and second ones?
Yeah. So let's simplify this. And I will not make you remember this axis of symmetry equation. Okay? Negative 6 over 2 times negative 3. So we get negative 6 on top. On bottom we get negative 6. This equals 1. Right? Negative 6 over negative 6 equals 1, right? So we have our axis of symmetry is x equals 1. Now, I know that you all remember how to graph the equation or the line x equals 1, right? Right. How do we graph it? Anyone have any ideas?
Put a dot. Oh, wait.
X is 1.
X. We need y, though.
Well, x is 1 is that's where we got to start. Where x is 1, this is where we start.
That's where the
Your-
touches the thing.
Yeah, axis of symmetry, and it's going to be vertical on these. So basically, you go to x equals 2 and you draw a vertical line.
Y.
Y
2.
2.
Oh, what's
I mean 1. I'm sorry. Darn it. 1.
There's 6.
Okay.
Indentation is too long.
So I'm sorry. Ignore this one at x equals 2. I think maybe the next one comes out to 2. I don't know. But anyway, x equals 1 is our axis of symmetry. Now, we're going to use that to find our vertex. Colin, pay attention, please. We're going to use x as our x coordinate of the vertex, and we're going to go in and find y. So we're going to take x equals 1, and we're going to plug it back into the equation up here to get the y coordinate. Because this is definitely going to be the x coordinate for the vertex, because the vertex has to fall somewhere on x equals 1. So then we plug it in. See what I'm doing? We do -3, 1 squared, plus 6 times 1, plus 5. And guys, you can go ahead and put that right into your calculator and get it all done in one step. It keeps you from making kind of some silly errors. So if you look here, watch what I do here. I do,
Can't see it.
give it just a second, it'll adjust. Maybe.
Move it up to the left.
Yeah, to the left. To the light. Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
See
Okay.
that? See that?
So then we do, of course now I can't see my equation, but okay. So now we do, see how I do this right in my calculator? No, you guys know how to use a calculator, but you do -3, parentheses, 1 squared. And be sure to put what you're plugging in into parentheses. Plus 6 times 1 plus 5. And then hit enter and it's going to give it to you. 8. Okay, so just use the calculator there. It keeps you from making silly sign errors. Because I know you guys could do that without a calculator, so I'm not testing if you can do it or not on a calculator. So anyway, we get 8. So that means our y coordinate is 8. So our vertex, we have a y equals 8, x equals 1. And so we're going to go over to this graph and we're going to put x equals 1, y equals 8. That's our vertex. So we're going to go over 1 and up 8, and that's going to be our vertex.
Wait, over 1 up 8.
Yeah, because our x coordinate was 1, our y coordinate is 8. That gives us an ordered pair.
Do you want us to draw the vertical line on the 1 on the X?
Yeah, you want to draw that vertical line, yes.
Okay.
Draw your vertical line on x equals 1. This is where your vertex is. We took what we got for the axis of symmetry, plugged 1 into the equation, came out with 8. That 8 is our y value. That tells us up and down where the vertex is. Okay, that tells us up and down where the vertex is. Now, because this vertex is way up here on the graph, what do you think this one's going to look like? Is it going to... It's going to be a maximum, right? It's probably going to open downward, and here's how you know. This can kind of help you know if you're on the right track or not. If this number up here is negative like this, it's going to be an upside down parabola. If A is negative. If A is positive, it's going to open up. So this one is, in fact, going to open down. So once you use this formula, you come out with your x equals 1, put that line there. Then plug 1 into the equation, and you come out with 8. So x is 1, y is 8. That's where our vertex is. Here's the next step. Pay attention, very careful attention. What we want to do is we want to plug in 2 more x values. We need 2 more x values. And so those 2 x values could be, you want to pick them on the same side of the axis of symmetry, either the left or the right of the axis of symmetry. And you want to choose the next 2 x values, because if you get too far from the axis of symmetry, it's going to go off your graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose 3 and 4 because, or not 3 and 4, 2 and 3. I'm going to choose 2 and 3 because they're both to the right side of my axis of symmetry. Remember, we're forgetting about this line I drew right here. That shouldn't be there. So we're going to test 2 and 3. We're going to put 2 and 3 in and find out where the y's are. So that's what we're going to do twice now. For step 2, we're first going to take 2 and plug it in. So we get -3 times 2 squared plus 6 times 2 plus 5. So we're going to find out what that y value is. So go ahead and put that into your calculator. You're not focused. I can tell.
5.
We get 5?
Yeah.
Okay. So we get 2, 5. So this comes out to be 5. So our coordinate point then is we put 2 in and we came out with 5. There's one coordinate point of our parabola.
5 or
2, 5. 2 and then 5. 2, comma 5. Because we plugged in 2, that's our input. Our output is 5. That's what we're going to put on our graph.
Oh, I got you.
Then we're going to do 3. So then we do -3, 3 squared, plus 6 times 3, plus 5. What do we get there?
-4.
-4, yes. So there's 2 more points. And both of these points are going to be on that side of the parabola, which is what we wanted. We wanted these 2 points to be on one side of the parabola. So now let's put those points on our graph. We have 2, 5,
4.
and 3, -4. Now here's the thing. Do you see here how we now have half a parabola? But we're going to use the axis of symmetry in our favor because once we have half the parabola, we can do the other half.
Yeah.
So the other half, see if this one is, look at this point, it's 1 away from our axis of symmetry. So we want to go 1 the other side. So just mirror it. This one is 2 away from our axis of symmetry, so we're going to go 2 more.
That's a really small parabola.
It's narrow. It's very narrow. And so that's what our parabola looks like. So those are the steps to graphing a parabola. This one got kind of sloppy because I drew in the wrong symmetry.
The middle black line?
Huh?
Like, not the one that we drew, but the other one. We don't.
This one right here is the one we're looking at. This was a mistake. That was a mistake.
Oh. So do we have to draw that?
Axis of symmetry? Yeah, because that's going to help you mirror.
Yeah.
That's going to help you with your mirroring. You can dash it in if you want. Okay. Just so I make sure everybody has the steps, we're going to go through it one more time. If you feel like you totally get this, you can work ahead. That's fine. Example 2. We're going to go through these steps one more time. That way if you zoned out for a second or you missed a step, you got another chance. All right, graph the following quadratic function. That should say function. Yes, Mariella.
If for the first step, are we always going to use x equals -2 divided by 2a?
Negative b. Yes, we
We're
are.
always gonna use
That's always your first step. Your first step is always using the equation x equals -b over 2a. And like I said, I'll give you that equation on the test.
So what if b is already negative? Would it?
And then it'll make it positive, yeah. So so we need to pick out our a and our b. Be very careful here. What is a going to be? Because we don't have a number out there.
1.
Good. It's 1. We don't use the x, just the 1. Your b is -6. You want to take that sign with it. So what we're doing this time is we're plugging in a negative number into the negative equation. That's going to create 2 negatives. We're going to have -6 over 2 times 1. So on the top, we end up with a positive number. We end up with 6 over 2, which is 3. So our axis of symmetry is x equals 3. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find x equals 3 and draw a vertical line.
3. Wait.
So there's my axis of symmetry. That is going to be the center of my parabola. Okay, what do we do with that 3?
Plug it into the
Plug it into the equation right up here.
I know how to do these.
So we get 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 9.
got 0.
Yeah, you should get 0, actually.
Why?
Because it's 0. Put that in your calculator, you should get 0.
But didn't it say over here that?
Nope.
Oh, 8 is 0.
That's a positive.
It's a 0. So the coordinate point is x, not x, I'm sorry.
3, 0.
It's 3, 0 is our coordinate point. So we go over here to 3, 0 and put a point. So this one's actually going to be right on that x-axis. Because 3, 0, that's our vertex.
So it's going to be a minimum?
It is going to be a minimum because our a is positive. When the a is positive, it's going to be a minimum. Okay, so now we need to use and find 2 other points. Which 2 x values do you think we should plug in? Any ideas?
1 and 2.
Can it be 2?
Either 1 and 2 or 4 and 5. It doesn't matter.
1, 2.
Can it
4
not
and
be
5.
1, 2.
1, 2, what?
You want both of them to be on the same side.
1.
Oh, like
Guys, you want to, I guess it doesn't really matter, but I find it easier if you just pick 2, they're on the same side. So we'll just do 1 and 2.
Yes.
Doesn't really matter which ones we do, but we'll do 1 and 2. So we have 1 squared minus 6 times 1 plus 9. That's going to give us one of our points. And we're going to do the same thing with 2. So let's find out what those are going to be. Is top one 4?
3.
Try again.
I got 3.
1 minus 6 is -5. -5 plus 9 is 4. This one's going to be what? I don't remember.
7.
Is it 1?
6.
4 minus 12, -8. Yeah, it's 1.
Ooh, it said that.
So 1, 4, and 2, 1. So put those points on your graph. 1, 4, 2, 1. And there's half your parabola. And then mirror it. Draw in the other half. And there is your parabola.
That's a pretty small thing. Wait, I did it wrong. 1, 2.
So, there's just a lot of steps. You just got to remember all the steps.
2, 1.
But they're the same steps. And I know some of you really like it when it's like the exact same steps because it's a lot easier for you,
Yeah.
I think.